ko. Grabe.
Thank you so much. Or here, where do you want?
Is that live?
We are still working on the audio, so it's that's what's being shown in the internet now. It's a little bit delayed now, a few seconds. You were not driving naman.
No. This time I was there.
Oo nga.
May cyber group sa family. Di ba kami, wala kaming Facebook na so watching from Kuwait.
Yeah. Why can't I hear?
Boss Rex pa rin. Film Life Lucena.
Mic test, mic test, mic test. Mic test, mic test, mic test.
Audio please.
Mic test. Pati ba ako? Will I have to check din my audio, no?
Mic test, mic test, mic test.
Ron, pwede ka mag-ano sa Facebook?
Can you check Facebook, please?
Audio?
Here.
Here?
Yeah, I can hear. You're here.
Ian, good. Nice to meet you.
There.
Step one. Facebook? You can comment, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you guys.
Start ko tayo. Nasasama ko sa silent on phone, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hi everybody, this is Bo Sanchez here I need to get used to this, Success Live. I want to thank you so much for this opportunity that you're joining us. It is a great privilege. You know what, I really feel so good just being able, for you to be able to spend time with us. You could do so many things. You could be, I don't know, playing the video game or, but you're able to do this. I want to say thank you for joining us. And I have now my dear friend here, Rex Mendoza, the one and only, the great, the legend, the institution.
Good evening.
I want to thank you that you're joining us, and from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you that you have come here to learn and to listen. Your attention, your just spending time with us is a great gift already to us, and we're so grateful. And I'm going to be asking questions the Rex is such a blessing to all of us in the Truly Rich Club. He has spoken many, many times, and every time he speaks, it is such a blessing. So right now, you're going to hear the one and only Rex Mendoza. Hi, Rex.
Hi, good evening, Brother Bo.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's also a great opportunity to be in a situation like this. You know me, I talk a lot, so
Yes!
I like to have listeners or viewers.
Rex, one of the things we did a long time ago was you spoke to the Kerygma conference.
Yeah.
And people were so inspired because of that message. And the reason I think why it was so impactful was the fact that you shared about your life, and it was so personal. And then people were able to identify with you. Can you just share, maybe that will be our introduction, Rex, if that's okay?
He didn't tell me it's going to be like this. I thought it was all about finance and money and all that stuff.
We will go to that.
And I think I've told you that I'm never going to do that again. You coerced me once. You've pushed me to the edge. No, but it was a great experience when I was sitting down with Tessa Pienza. I think you know she's helping me with a book, and
Rex is coming out with a new book, the first book ever, and it will come out in November. So watch for that.
That shepherd's voice. That's also again the coercion of Brother Bo. Tess was telling me, it came out different. I think she heard me some other time, but that particular point, there was a lot of healing already.
Yes.
I think it's also because of that, that heightened level of spirituality. And looking back at times, you never think about certain experiences to be blessings. But years after, you'll get it. You'll get why you went through such an ordeal or such great forms of enjoyment and happiness. Yeah. It all boils down to, a life that you should have, and you cannot question it when it happens. So I guess if we start there, I think the fact that it was a very, very challenging childhood, and it's a bigger challenge now because my sister is watching. Ate Rona, you weren't there during the Kirigma conference with Manong, but I shared my early life. Having parents that are really, really old school, hard workers, really good providers, but somehow they have different belief systems, not exactly the way we do lead and maybe nurture our children these days. But at that particular time, they think that was the right way.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, we got hurt. I mean, I also had those experiences with my mom and my dad. Their intentions were good.
Exactly. If you get to the intent, I think there's no question now. You get to realize it. But when you were going through the ordeal, it didn't feel like it's like that, right? And I guess my ate would agree with me. We can talk about it today in a very different light compared to when we were young. But ate was the única hija. My father was the eldest. My mom's also eldest in her family. Apple of the eyes of everyone, the first grandchild of the entire clan. That was my ate. And then my parents didn't have anything. Not another son nor another daughter. So they were worried. Several miscarriages over 8 years. So they tried everything. Fertility doctors, dancing in Obando. They went through everything that's necessary just to have another child. And in 9 years, someone came up.
Wow.
9 years. Firstborn son.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was my brother. So they were complete. 2 years without any novena, no fertility doctor, no dancing in Obando. Someone came out. Bonus. That was me. So that's exactly my life story, right? You would see from there how it transpired, when we were growing up, my brother's firstborn son.
If you know of anyone who needs to hear this story of resurrection, this story of overcoming difficult odds, this is the story of Rex. He's going to share it. So just in case you know of anyone, tag him. Share this video right away. Thank you. Go ahead, Rex.
So, very, very challenging childhood. I mean, it's really looking at a family that thought they were complete before me. So, never really had much like what my sister and my brother had. And they know that now. And they also know that, and they can probably qualify it when it comes to today, that they say, it's really a blessing that it happened like that, because they said if you were well provided, you're not gonna be as a fighter as you were, and you're not gonna be where you are right now. See, you look back and you say, oh, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
You look back and see, oh, those are the roles of people in my life.
Absolutely.
And if they change their roles, then I'm not gonna be me.
Exactly.
Right? So I look at those childhood years, and you know, not that I have a bad shape. No. My parents provided for me.
Yep,
I still had a lot more than what other children got.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to turn around and be, like, let's say, limiting or maybe envious,
Yes.
which I was at that age,
Yeah.
I look at what my sister and brother got, right? See, my sister had her own room, her bathtub, right? And I didn't even have a sink, right? I never really had a respectable bed until I was working.
Ooh.
And that also came from my parents. You know, they
Yeah.
gave it to me
Yeah.
when I was the only child in the house. You know, when my sister got married and my brother got married.
Okay.
And they said, you know, Rex, we're giving you this very nice brass bed because that's what you're going to have until you get married, right? But you see, when I was growing up, I was comparing myself to what my brother got.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then I focus it on two things, shoes and watches.
Shoes and watches?
See, I never had the watches that my brother had. I mean, my brother had all the watches, all the balls, all the toys that he likes.
Yeah.
Because when he acts up, my dad and mom can take it.
Okay.
When I act up, who cares? So it was funny now. I mean, if you look back, it's funny. But at that time,
painful.
You know, why am I here? I mean,
Yeah.
why is this happening to me? I always compare. I always become jealous. I always become envious. And I think that's the limiting thing. But again, it's deprivation.
Oh.
Deprivation breeds ambition.
Oh.
If you look back at it right now, I mean, it breeds ambition. But at that time, I always compare. At third year high school, my brother had a brand new car.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty early.
And he doesn't want me to ride it all the time. You know, he wants me to ride it when there are no people looking. Because it's not cool to be with a small brother in the car, right? I mean, we were in high school, so he lets me ride if it's okay. But if it's not going to be cool, then I'm not going to ride it. So all of these things. Now, and one particular aunt that played a big role in my life is Umpe, and you know, my brother and sister know that. It's my mom's sister. And she's a widower. She didn't really have a son or a daughter, so she treated me like one.
Wow.
So I said shoes because I would have loved my brother to get brand new shoes while his shoes are still decent.
Okay.
Because that's what I'm going to get.
You're going to
See,
get second
I
hand.
didn't,
Okay.
I always have hand-me-downs. Always hand-me-downs. And that's the reason why, again, flip side of it, you have to see my shoes now. I mean, I have quite a collection, you know. Because at that time when I was young, I didn't have them. So this aunt of mine takes me to Carriedo, looks at my shoe, and you know, it's really like they have holes in them. And my socks that are white are actually getting to be gray or brown because of the dust. So, and this is no joke. When we get a pair of shoes in Carriedo, we leave my old shoes there. We don't even bring it home because
it's really that bad.
It's really that bad. So this aunt of mine has been that blessing to me. I think the love and the care that I got from her, the concern and the attention, always comes in when I was on the brink. You know, there are times when you're thinking destructive. She comes along. It's almost like she's a lifesaver at that particular time. Now, so as you struggle, she gets there at the right time, and then it's a fresh fight. And you know, all that takes me to like certain career choices. My father always wanted me to be a lawyer because even at a very young age, you know, I talk a lot. And my brother and sister has followed his advice. They both became doctors. They studied medicine. And you know how it was. Again, going back to the good old days, my parents really believed that you're not a professional if you don't have a title. You're not a professional if you don't go and pass a board exam.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and this was very different because I had a very different view. If I take up law, I'll have to study 9 years.
Yes.
And I cannot wait that long.
That's right.
You know, I really wanted to have a show for myself because I didn't like where I was.
Yeah.
So I thought that, you know, the fastest way would have been business, right? Which I did. So when my dad said, so why are you taking up business?
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I'm going to be a good corporate lawyer. You know, I'll take up law after business. Quite strategic, but I was telling a lie. I knew I'm not going to go and get into law. But I, you know, graduated from BA. I got into UP Law School.
Yeah.
The dean, I won't forget the name, Dean Bakungan.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of his.
Yeah.
And on the last day of enrollment, he called my dad and said, Roming, where's your son?
Uh-huh.
He hasn't enrolled.
Oh.
Okay, I ran away.
Oh my gosh.
Actually ran away. I didn't go to law school. And when I came back, I had a job. I had a job in a company where he didn't know anyone. I purposely did that because, you know, at the tail end of it, he was saying, if you don't want to study, then at the very least work for government,
Yeah.
work for the Supreme Court. You know, he was hoping that the
Yeah.
exposure
Yeah.
would still lead me to that education, right? But I didn't. I had my, you know, I had my own dreams. I didn't think that being a professional meant having a title.
Yeah.
You know, at a very early age, I was saying, you know, Dad, I called him Tatang. All of us called him, you know, Tatang and Inay. And I said, Tang, for me, a professional is someone who loves what he's doing
Yeah.
and who's going to do everything in his power every day to be good at it, to be better at it,
That's good.
right? But he still didn't buy it. And he said, you know, for the longest time, and I'll always remember, this has been quite a motivation for me, but for the longest time, he's been telling me that, Rex, have you realized you're the only non-professional in this family?
Ouch.
We're the only non-professional. My brother and
Doctors.
sister are both doctors. He's a lawyer, and my mom's a CPA.
Okay.
So I'm Rex Mendoza with no title.
No letters.
Mister. No letters at all.
Yeah.
So again, I tried to do what I thought was right. I had a good career going, and since I had a chance to go for MBA school,
Yeah.
he said, why not? You know, if you're not going to take up law, at the very least take up MBA.
Okay.
So he wants to be proud of his son, you know, his youngest son. So I guess I'll have to look back and see that, you know, they wanted to provide for me. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
I stayed in the dorm. They paid for it.
That's right.
I mean, it's not that simple. Even if you have a scholarship in AIM,
Yeah.
studying in Makati is expensive.
Very.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I remember, you know, he had to buy me a computer. And those were the times when I get to ask myself, you know, if they don't love you, why are they doing this?
Oh, okay.
See, they love you, they just want something different for you. And you want something else,
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's when you now equate, you know, a very different way of thinking about it. They still love you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But they want something else. And you don't like that. Because, you know, my dad, you know, I was telling him, you know, I'm going to do well in MBA school.
Yeah.
I'm going to do well. I'm not going to be going for extracurricular. My college was about extracurricular. I was governor of the frat, and I'm a member of 6 organizations, right? But MBA, I said, focused on studies.
Yeah.
So I said, I have the chance to graduate with distinction. But I need my own PC. I need my own personal computer.
Yeah,
At that
yeah.
time, it's not as cheap as it is today.
No.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember that picture, and I can vividly remember it in my head. Tatang going to AIM, handing me a stack or a stash of cash.
Ooh.
Because that came from our jeepney business. You know, we have a jeepney business. And, you know, the boundaries that the jeepneys, you know, the jeepney driver gives.
Yeah.
He didn't even go to the bank and exchange. I mean, he just gave me that stack and said, Rex, buy your personal computer.
Wow.
So, that I remember. So, I finished MBA. I was like, fast rising star in AIM. So, another break happened. I said, you know, I'd want to be an agent.
Agent.
I was an executive. I was already senior assistant vice president. People were saying I'm going to be promoted to VP soon. But I said, I want to be an agent.
Wow. And how did your father respond?
I thought, I'm going to be proud of you already.
Oh, that's what
He
he
said,
said.
you know, you're an MBA graduate. You graduated with distinction. You're an executive in a big company, and you're now becoming an agent. You know, are you really sick, Rex? You know, I can have you treated. You know, but my mind was made up. I felt I'll do well being an agent, and I pursued it. I became an agent for Film Life in 1983. My 1993, my first retirement. I've already retired 3 times. My first retirement, that's when Ramver was born. I was performing an agency role for film.
Yeah.
And I did well. In about 3-4 years, being a member of the $1 Million Roundtable. Okay. All of a sudden, big issue happened. My mom got sick.
Oh.
My mom got sick. She suffered a stroke. And you know Anna, I was already married then. I told Anna, and I need to do something for my mom.
Yeah.
And we had that big decision to move them to our house. Because our ancestral home is in Sampaloc.
Yeah.
You know, a stroke victim on a wheelchair
Yeah.
will never survive Sampaloc. I mean, you know, if you walk them around, the jeepneys will hit you, right? So I said, you know, we live in a good village. Inay can, be pushed around the village and all. That's going to be good for her. So we converted our den to a makeshift hospital room with everything there, the bed, oxygen and all that, with the nurses. So my mom and dad stayed with us. In fact, they stayed with us for the rest of their lives when they moved, both of them.
Wow.
So it was very different. I mean, we tried to provide everything that we can for them, and I think I accorded them some piece of luxury at the twilight years of their lives. I was tempted at a certain point to at the very least joke or maybe tell my dad, where are the professionals? Ate Manong, sorry pero talagang gusto kong tanongin, nasaan na yung mga doktor? Bakit wala sila? Diba? Why? Because at that time, I was already doing very well in my career. And he now realized, hey, Rex, you're an agent, but you can provide this for us.
Yeah.
Things change because in 1997, I bought them their own Mercedes-Benz. Because at a certain point, I attended MDRT, and I won't forget. It's this guy who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yes. Yes.
You remember the name? Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Jack Canfield.
Okay, Jack Canfield. He was a speaker in MDRT, and I had the chance to assist.
Yeah.
And he told me, so what are you doing? And I'm so proud of what I'm doing, and I'm MDRT and all that. And he said, what are you doing for family? So I was proud. I was telling them about my mom and dad living with me.
Yeah.
I told them exactly,
Wow.
him and his assistant, this story. And he said, you know what, Rex, I think you're not doing good enough.
You're not doing good enough.
You're not doing good enough. So he said, what were your parents' goals when you were young?
Oh.
I said, I remember when I was a young child, I remember my mom always saying they wanted a Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
But you see, they educated 2 doctors. That's enough to be quite in a deep hole, not to be able to buy themselves the luxuries they wanted. So he said, why don't you buy it for them?
Ooh.
You have a good career going. You have a long, long track.
Yeah.
Your parents are not going to have that much time.
Wow.
He did an exercise with me. Let me sit down, had me close my eyes, and vividly think about my mom and dad.
Yes.
And then snapped his finger and said, what if, Rex, you come back to Manila on this trip
Yeah.
and you find out that they're not there anymore?
Oh, gosh.
That exercise was so, the impact on me was really, really hard.
Wow.
I almost wanted to rush to a phone to order a car, right? I mean, see, sometimes that's what we do. We also don't, we
don't
take it
act.
for granted we love our parents, we love our brothers and sisters,
Wow.
but at a certain point, we dilly-dally
Yeah.
in terms of paying back, in terms
Yeah.
of sharing. So at that particular point, I did that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that, again, matter of pride for me that I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And then, because they're sick, we had a better relationship, my brother, sister,
Yes,
their
yes.
families, we go
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
I guess this is something new, and I guess, as a member of the mastermind, your mastermind, this is something that I shared recently. This is something that I didn't share in Kerygma,
Yeah.
right? And I now want to share this, and because it's special to me. One of my nephews, ate's son, Nyongge, Ronald Sirojano.
Yeah.
When I was, doing very well,
Yeah.
I set up this business for them. And maybe they were still too immature, after college.
Yeah.
They're not yet as responsible.
Yeah.
So I had quite a drifting experience with my nephews and nieces. But my tension with him was pretty tough because he's a wild guy at the start. He very responsible. He drank a lot and all that.
Oh.
Okay, and there was a bit of some bad blood between us.
Okay.
But you see, he changed.
Yes.
He challenged himself. He worked really well, and he did quite well.
Yeah.
He did, quite a bit of a turnaround in his career.
That's good.
And he went to me in my office in Ayala Land. I was already in Ayala Land. And he apologized for everything that happened
That's nice.
years before. And I did not accept it.
You did not accept.
I did not. Because, again, I explained that, and I said, in our family, people love each other so much. Sometimes we spoil each other. And Manong Ate, I think you're going to admit this. I mean, we were spoiled. You were spoiled more than me, but we were spoiled. And there's no such thing as tough love. So on Nyongge, I wanted to say, I'll put my foot down, this is going to be tough love. And he said, Tito Rex, I need you to forgive me. I need you to, bring that relationship back.
Yeah.
And I didn't accept it.
Wow.
The guy did very well. He got himself to an accident and required operations. I did not help.
Wow.
That's how, I knew it was irresponsible. He got into a car accident, wee hours of the morning.
Yeah.
I know the background. So as far as I'm concerned, he still hasn't learned this lesson.
Yeah.
But after a while, things changed with him. It was when he was doing so well, when he turned around his life, that he got sick. He got diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
And at that particular point, he was a changed man. He had a son. It's not the cancer that turned him around, it's actually the son. So the son changed the way he viewed life. He was very, very responsible. He, completely used his talent for worthwhile endeavors.
That's
and
good.
it was on fire.
Yeah.
And at that particular point, I felt, it's time. And, I worked with him. I made him a consultant for Rampberg.
that's good.
He did a lot in terms of our branding, in terms
Yeah.
of our marketing. Helped us a lot. We did very well together. He was on fire, as I've said. But I only have about a year and a half with him in that phase. And as I shared with you and the other members of Mastermind, I thought, that those 1.5 years were great. Super. And I felt that he felt it too, that we were like a good, tito and nephew really getting into the groove and doing a lot of stuff together. But I wasn't blessed with more time, and I would have wanted to do maybe not 1.5 years, but 15 years with him. But, it wasn't that long. While we knew it's about to happen, we weren't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it. I was trying to give him everything that I can, in those last few months. But, somehow I would have wanted to buy more time with him. But I guess the Lord has different plans.
God took him home.
Okay. Yep. And, the things that I promised him that I'm going to do, I'm going to do this time. So, I'm taking the whole, like what you do. I think we mentioned, we talked about this. I'm taking this whole family to a trip this December.
That's good.
It's something that I promised Nyong'e, but Nyong'e is not going to be with us physically. I'm sure he's going to be with us in spirit.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have fun with my nephews and nieces and my brother and
Wonderful.
sister. So it's now a very different family where we're closely
Beautiful.
bonded. And,
Beautiful.
I take a lot of power and strength from
Yes.
this family. And as I go back,
Yeah.
you cannot question each and everything that happened
Yeah.
now. It's almost like everything was laid out just
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And it was...
Thank you, Rex.
So.
I wanted everyone to hear your story as an introduction as we move into the whole area of finance, because sometimes when you dive automatically to, okay, let's go to finance, how invest, how to do that, without hearing the personal story, people don't understand. You went through such a history. You went through so much pain. You went through so much difficulty. And then this was the impetus. This was the fuel, that launched you to who you are now. Rex is an amazingly wise man in the area of finance. And right now, as I ask him some financial questions on how you and your finances can be put into order, do tell us, write in your questions in the comments, and we will try our best to answer them, and Rex will be answering these questions. So Rex, when you went through that pain, when you went through the difficulties and the jealousy, it drove you to who you are now. Was investing something or saving, was that something early? Something you discovered early or late?
Very early. I discovered that very early. Unfortunately, we didn't have all the instruments and vehicles that we have now.
Okay.
At that particular point, we can't talk about capital markets. There were very little in terms of options. You won't have managed funds. You invested in stocks directly, and the information that we get is not as extensive as it is today.
Okay.
But I guess when you ask about was it there very early, the answer is yes, because I set aside the money. I think it is very clear that I knew that my salary won't be enough. If I want to dream big dreams, if I have great objectives moving forward, that no matter how I project, even if I get promoted once every 2 years, I still won't get to where I wanted. So I have to make my money work. Okay. I had to,
get in some... Again, Rex. Share that again. You mentioned that this was a video that we did years ago about that. Can you just repeat that whole thing?
See, I work, right?
Yeah.
I am not that blessed with capital so much so I can immediately get into business.
Yeah.
And at that particular point, I just felt, even the background, like my mother and father were in businesses like, jeepneys, sari stores, too tedious, but it doesn't give you enough, right?
Yeah.
Too much work. I'm not saying it's not honorable, it is.
Yeah.
But you see, for them, it's different. Businesses are sidelines. It just augments income they get from government, right? So I said, if I'm going to get income from the private sector, yes, that's going to be higher.
Yeah.
It's better than government work.
Yeah, but
but it's still not going to be enough. So if I wanted this, and this later on in my life, I will have to make sure it comes from something that I can build.
That's right.
And at that particular point, it has to be a kitty that I have to start growing.
Yeah.
Because if as I've said, I have this salary. Even if I'm a high flyer, I'll probably get, 5%, 8% increase every year.
Yeah.
So, no matter how you project it, you're not going to get to where you want, right? So, I said, I have to set money aside. I have to grow this. Now, if it's not enough to launch my own business, and I don't even have an idea of what that business was, at the very least, that kitty I need to grow. So, I even started the wrong way. My first investment in stocks, I think I've mentioned this to you, were mining and oil stocks, the rumor mill and all that. In fact, for me, stocks was like more like the casino, right?
Gambling.
It's looking at the dealer,
Yeah.
looking at the hands I'm dealt, something like that. So it's mining and oil stocks. I invested maybe long term was 3 months,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So not enough until I realized, there's the commercial and industrial board, and then that because these are stocks, you're owning pieces of companies, so you now have to own the companies that do make money.
Yeah.
So I linked that to my collegiate finance.
Ah.
See, when I was in collegiate finance, it wasn't relevant,
Yep.
right? But now when I started investing, now I go back, so that's what EPS is all about. So that's what all of these income statements and
That's
balance
right,
sheets
that's right.
were supposed to be for, right?
That's right.
So I now realize, okay, let's now start looking at investments.
Yeah.
And I really had PLDT. I mean, PLDT, a lot of my friends know this. I always share this story because my start was PLDT.
Oh, okay.
PLDT is a monopoly
Right.
at that time.
Yep.
PLDT,
This was what, 20, 30?
years ago,
20 years ago.
it ages me, right? This was 1983.
Okay.
34 years ago.
Oh my God.
So, Aquino got shot.
Yeah.
So what I bought PLDT, if I remember right, 11.50.
Yes.
It went down to 6.
Oh.
Okay, and further went down to 350.
Ah.
Right? Because, when people talk about the dips today,
Yeah.
the crisis that we see, 2008,
That's nothing.
that was nothing. In 1983, sometimes the whole Philippine Stock Exchange, they had a volume of 5 million pesos in one day.
Oh my God.
That's how bad it was. No one was even trading,
Oh.
right? And people were on the streets.
Yes,
People were in the corner of
Yeah.
Paseo de Rojas and Ayala,
Yeah.
right? So nothing was happening. But hey, PLDT is still a monopoly. It charges what it wants to charge. Their
Yeah.
margins are very good.
Yeah.
If you want a phone, you have to
Yeah.
get it through them, right?
Yes, yes.
And you don't care even if they give you a party line.
Yeah.
Right? You had a party line, right? So they even split the line.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine how much they were earning?
Oh, yeah.
But again, the price didn't reflect value
Yeah.
because of the market sentiment.
That's right.
And we all know market sentiments always shift,
That's right.
right? But that was a long shift because 83 was when Aquino got shot. That's when I started investing. That was I graduated 1983,
Uh-huh.
right? So that was like the time I got into my first job.
That's amazing.
After all the mining and oil stocks,
yeah.
I shifted into this.
Beautiful.
So 2-3 years accumulating on it. Guess
Yeah.
what happened after the revolution?
86.
86.
Boom.
Anything you touch is gold, right? Boom. I can't remember the exact price, but in 1990,
Yeah.
1990, I sold it for over $1,000.
From 350 to 1,000.
350, 3 pesos 50
3
cents.
pesos. Oh, God.
3 pesos 50 cents.
To
And
1,000
650,
pesos.
1150. Those were the prices.
Absolutely
right?
nuts.
It's nuts. But
Yeah.
another lesson, right?
Yes.
Why was I selling in 1990? See, I'm a guy who put everything on my investments. I have such a big base. I was like rocking it. I was like building up this kitty,
Yeah.
right? That I said that
Yeah,
it's going to be my kitty.
Yeah.
But I was about to get married.
Ah. Okay.
And the wife I married, you know her?
Yes.
And you know how I follow everything she says. Right, Ann? This is live, so life-threatening when I go home and I don't say this. But, seriously, she wanted a house.
She wanted a house.
She wanted a house. I said, if I keep the cash, I keep my investment portfolio,
Yeah.
I can earn money for the rent of the same house.
Ah.
Right?
Right.
So I'm a rent and invest guy.
Yeah.
She doesn't buy that.
Ah.
We're getting married. We have to be secure.
Yes.
We have to have our own place.
That's right.
Right?
That's what she wants.
That's what she wants. So I
You
bit
sell.
the bullet, sold,
Sold PLDT.
dropping my liquidity to almost nil because everything went there. I mean, that's the asset right now, right?
That's right.
Okay. Ramos became president
Oh.
in 1992,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that, when he stepped into the presidency, he solved the electricity problem. Like, remember,
yeah.
1991, 1990 wasn't exactly that good.
Yeah.
And the price was already there.
Okay.
So when Ramos became president,
Boom.
that went
It
up
went
to
up.
about 1,008
Wow.
to 2,000.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
I was telling my wife, and I still talk about it
Yeah.
up till these days. And I
Yeah.
said, if we did rent and invest, we could have afforded a house in a more plush village like Forbes. Right? I was telling her, Anne, if you just believe me, we could be in Forbes by today.
Okay.
And she always retorts and strikes back. Rex, you may be right. I agree,
Yes.
but not about the we. You would have been in Forbes Park by yourself. By yourself, right? So now I look back at that again, big lesson. That's why I'm telling you it's a big lesson. We don't invest for the money. We invest for a purpose.
That's
Right?
wonderful.
If I go back all of these years, I'll do that again.
Yes.
I'm not going to agree with it. I feel a little bad about it, but I'm going to do
Did
that
you hear
again.
that? That's a very important lesson. It's not all about the money. It's about the family, the love, and the relationships. Great lesson.
No, because if you go back, I mean, this house is where, our children grew up.
Yeah.
All of them were born.
Absolutely.
We renovated it, not
Yeah.
really renovated. We actually tore it down and put
Yeah.
a new one right on the same spot. So,
Yeah.
I mean, our entire family,
Yeah.
went through since I carried her day 2 of our wedding.
Wow.
Day 1, we stayed in the hotel, right,
Yeah.
where the reception was.
Yeah.
But day 2, I carried her to the house. And we stayed in that place until today. Even if we have,
Yeah.
we have other houses, right?
Yeah.
But we still stay there. And that's where our children got born, where they grew up, had friends.
Beautiful.
And, you cannot pay for that.
No.
What kind of
Absolutely.
yield
Yeah.
will match up with that?
Absolutely.
Nothing. So
Beautiful.
I tell a lot of people, you go back to your why,
Yeah.
because the answer to your why sets you forth for your investment program.
Woo! Define your why, guys. Define your why. Rex, when you say, okay, investment program, strategy, give us in a nutshell, what should a person do if he wants to grow his finances?
Okay. First things first, just start.
Just start.
Okay. Sometimes I get to see a lot of people, trying to study, trying to, listen to so many seminars, right?
Yeah.
And they attend, we call them the seminaristas, right? But they don't execute. For me, it's all about execution. I don't even care how much you're going to earn. The important thing is you set it aside. Because if you don't, it ends up in the mall, it ends up, in a certain luxury item, it ends up with, great food, but it never gets set aside. So you start.
Start.
You start early, you have a longer runway, don't worry about yields. The yields will get to you when you start accumulating the acumen. But the important thing is start. Why? Because the most potent force in the world of finance is not a selection of investments nor the yields. The most potent force is the compounding power of money.
Time.
Time, right? Time is the constant. See, yields are very different. You might be lucky this year. You might be doing well this year. Next year, it might not be like that.
Wow.
But if you're there for 30 years, see, a lot of people think, wow, Rex, grabe yung investment portfolio mo. It's so huge. It's more like a mutual fund now, right? But I tell a lot of people, 34 years yan.
That's right.
34 years yan. Anyone
Beautiful.
See,
Beautiful. Exactly.
I tell people, sometimes you get so fixated in earning more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Get more fixated in, first, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And second, committing to a program,
Long term.
okay? And then, in the middle of it, try to learn it now. I mean,
Yeah.
they're so lucky they have TRC, they have all of these things. When I started, you don't even know who to trust,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
People were, you talk about fake news right now. At that time, it was like insider trading, the rumor mill and all
Yeah.
that. Now the information, the research
It's
is
all
all
there.
around, right? you don't even have to pay an arm and a leg for it.
Yeah.
In the past, the researches done by the big houses
Yes.
are not going to be in your hands if you don't have a big portfolio.
Yes.
And you even pay for it.
That's
Today,
right. It's
it's there, right? And the analysis that comes forth, even if you pay for it now, saves you a lot of time, right? So start early, learn,
Yes.
right? Execute,
Yep.
and be consistent about it.
Consistency.
Very, very important, the consistency. And again, for me, largely, always it's psychological.
Yes.
For me, my friend Randall Chongson always says this,
yes.
money is not technical, right? It's behavioral.
Behavioral.
Because a lot of people out there will never be happy. Because of all the coulda, woulda,
Yeah.
I could have done this, I could. See, a lot of people have this bad way of taking a perspective into any decision they make.
Yes.
And once you do it on this market, you'll never be happy.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. Somebody buys a stock.
Yeah.
It goes down.
Yes.
Oops, I shouldn't have bought that. It went down. I
yeah.
shouldn't have bought
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Hey, you bought it for a reason, right?
Okay.
You know you made a decision,
Yeah.
and there is analysis to go with it.
Okay.
The market will not always present value.
That's true.
Markets almost always don't present value,
Yeah.
but it will always follow value in time.
In time.
It will always follow value in time.
Value.
So why are you going to have a bad feeling about it
Yeah.
if you think you did the right fundamental analysis in choosing that stock?
That's right.
Right? In fact, when it goes down and you stick to your guns and say, I have the right analysis for this,
Yes.
then you should commit more.
Wow.
Because you're now getting it at a bargain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yesterday you were willing to buy it at X.
Yeah.
Now it's X minus 10%.
Yep.
And you're not willing to buy it now. Why? Because the market tells you it's a lower price? Would have. Now, this is the worst.
Yeah.
Somebody buys a stock.
Yeah.
It goes up.
Yep.
I should have bought more. So hindi ka pa rin happy. Sabi ko, hindi ka na magiging happy forever. You're always gonna look at what's wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Minsan, I'm not gonna say I make all the right decisions.
Yep.
But it's a way of perceiving decisions that makes me stronger. Right? I buy, it goes down.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
I'm having a bigger opportunity
Yeah.
to buy at a bargain.
That's right.
Right? I mean, remember my PLDT store, 11.50, 6.50, 6, 4, up to 3.
3 pesos.
3.50. Right? I would have been losing more than 50%. Right?
That's right.
But 10 years later,
Yeah.
things change.
Amazing.
Right? So here is a different story. You bought, it went down. Oh, no, sorry. You bought, it went up.
Yep.
Then buy some more. If you like to, buy some more. Now, this is worse. It went up. You sold.
Yeah.
You already made money.
Yeah.
Right?
It went up
It
more.
went up more.
Yeah.
Sayang. I could have waited. He said, you'll never be happy. Right?
That's
Yeah,
true.
see, it's a psychological thing. You'll never be happy. Ang bilis yan, dapat ang perspective, it's different. It went up. What we're supposed to say? Hindi na akin yan.
Yeah.
Diba? Okay na eh. I already earned money.
That's
so,
right.
if it goes up, hindi na akin yan.
That's
Pero ang
good.
totoo, siyempre, if you do constant investing, you'll never be out of the market
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
Right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
if it goes up, konti pa rin naman natira eh. I mean, I'm not gonna say you're gonna
Yeah,
finish it, right?
yeah.
So, it's important that you think about your attitude and your behavior towards the money.
Beautiful.
Because I always have this rule. I teach all the people under me, all the guys in the office that I mentor. There's this rule that I have that sticks to their heads all the time.
Which is?
No one loses money by selling at a profit.
That's right.
Right?
Very
I mean, you never lose money if you sell at a profit. So
Very
if you sell at a profit, even if it goes up, why are you going to be sad? You already made your money.
Thank you for that, Rex. That is so good. We're going to answer some questions. J. Angelo, what advice can you give to make the husband and wife come to the same mindset to invest?
Wow. That's a very good question and quite a challenge for many couples.
Yes.
Now, people look at the investing part and look at the technicalities of it. That's why people don't agree. Sometimes people think about, why shouldn't we spend it? Why should we set aside the money for something? If you set aside the money, where will you put it? I don't understand the stock market. I don't understand bonds. I don't understand this. I understand the time deposit. So they fight now about what to put it on.
Yes.
The other guys fight about setting it aside or enjoying it today.
Yeah.
Right? I want a vacation,
yes.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Now, my advice is always like this. Focus on what you want later. Focus on building goals. See, remember, I had goals. I knew I'm not going to hit them with my salary.
Yeah.
And that's why I needed to invest.
That's so good.
See,
That's
you now
so
have to
good.
look at investing, study investing, because what's going to take you from here to where you want to be is investing.
That's right.
Because without investing, you won't. You won't
Galing.
get there.
Galing.
So focus on the goals you have. So again, my mom told me this. Enjoy now, sacrifice later.
Yeah.
Or sacrifice now, enjoy later.
Yeah.
So for the couples that are thinking about, do we enjoy it today or do we invest it? You can move from enjoying it today to investing it if you can drive home the story that you can actually enjoy more if you enjoy it later.
Beautiful.
Right? See, a lot of people think about the trade-off today.
Yeah.
No, it's not a trade-off today.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off between the future, right? And the money that you're setting aside.
Wow.
It doesn't match with what you missed.
Yeah.
It's matched with what you will miss.
Wow.
So
That's
when you
great.
do that, right, you now concentrate on how do we now get there.
Yeah.
So the key to Angelo is setting up the goals.
Yeah.
And in fact, I get this from many of my brothers at Mastermind, is setting up loftier goals.
Yeah.
Right? Because, if you just set goals that you don't change,
Yeah.
what happens is this. You hit them.
Yeah.
There's no excitement anymore, right?
Yes.
In fact, the thing that I get from Mastermind is this. You don't even have to wait to hit your goals, right?
Yeah.
When the goal is about to get hit, you now think about something farther.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
That's
It's really goals.
I love it. I love the answer. And so, couples, husbands and wives, if you're not agreeing on the investments, listen to Rex. He said, talk about your future goals and hopefully loftier goals. And then you realize, okay, to reach those goals and to really, really enjoy them, I'm going to sacrifice now and then hopefully be able to make those investments. We're taking down these questions. We're going to do something different right now. Because what we want to do is we want to go more in depth with Rex Mendoza, because he's just a whole vault, a whole library of great wisdom on investments, on finances. We are going to have Truly Rich Club members. Please listen, because you already are investing in the market. Truly Rich Club members, we want to guide you on stock market investments. We also want to guide you on the other issues that are very, very important in your finances. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, for Truly Rich Club members exclusively, we're going to have a show with Rex Mendoza. It will be shown at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, and it will be available for you to view, for you to watch and listen for 4 days. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then after that, it will not be available anymore. So Truly Rich Club members, go to www.trulyrichclub.com/success code. I repeat, these are for Truly Rich Club members. And the reason why we have a special show for you as members is because we have been guiding you on how to invest in the market, in the stock market. And so I'm sure you have a lot of questions and you want to, learn more. A lot of you have been asking, I want to learn more how to invest and all that. And what should I do when the company that I bought went down? Like recently, we bought this one company and it went down. What should I do? So we're going to answer those questions. So I repeat, for Truly Rich Club members, it will be at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and you will be watching Rex and I talk more in depth about step-by-step strategies on how you can make better financial decisions. So not just the stock market, we're going to talk about other things as well. Specifically, I'm going to ask Rex how he diversifies his investments. I'm going to ask Rex how he invests in stock market, of course. We're going to talk about that. And how does he do it with real estate? How does he do it even with art? Because Rex is an investor in art. So we're going to talk more about that in our show, Success Code. In the meantime, for all of you who are watching, we will continue having Success Live every single Thursday night. And I want you to join me next Thursday for another episode on Success Live. And we just want to bless people. By the way, if you are not yet a member of the Truly Rich Club, please do join us. Sign up, be a member, get all that we give. We give you a truckload of wisdom, both in our newsletters. We give you webinars like this, shows like this. We give you stock market guidance, like we actually tell you what stocks to buy, when to buy, when we coach people, and it's just if you're interested in to grow in your financial life, go to www.trulyrichclub.com and do sign up, be part of our show tomorrow morning in Success Code. Thank you so much, guys. Let's pray. Let's ask God for His blessing. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. It is so good, Father, that you're here. Continue to guide and lead us. Thank you so much for this wisdom. We ask you, Father, that the experience of your generosity will be able to share it to other people, that we too will be generous. And we ask you that the overflow of grace continues in our lives and our families. Thank you so much. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen and amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you so much, guys. I repeat, I'm going to see you next Thursday for another episode of Success Live. And we hope to answer your questions again this next Thursday. If we were not able to answer them today, we're going to answer them next Thursday in Success Live. And for Truly Rich Club members, I'm going to see you tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning, for our exclusive show, Success Code. See ya. God bless you.